Ahead of his fight against Chris Weidman at UFC 309, Eryk Anders reveals he quit abusing drugs a year ago and is now more focused than ever. On X, he posted this. He wrote, "A year ago yesterday, I stopped abusing drugs. I got custody of my son, won fights, bought houses, cut all the crazy people out of my life, had the biggest year of personal growth, more focused than ever, and have the biggest fight of my career coming up in November. I'm proud of me." Back in November of 2018, Khalil Rountree lost to Johnny Walker. Less than 2 minutes into the fight, Johnny hit Khalil with an elbow in the clinch that knocked him out. Khalil actually moved to Thailand after this to work on his clinch game. On the Believe You Me podcast this week, Khalil explains how moving to Thailand impacted him in his career.
Well, I think when I first started MMA, the martial art that intrigued me most was Muay Thai. And I did my best to learn, Muay Thai here in the States. I got to learn a version of Muay Thai from guys like Wanderlei Silva and like that era of like shoot the box Muay Thai. Very different, but I've always been a fan and always been, intrigued with Muay Thai. So when I got there, I got to see it for what it really is. And I got to be in the presence of young guys who are younger than me who have had 500 fights, 400 fights, just like so many. And I got to see their lifestyle and what it means to like really be a Muay Thai fighter. And so their lives are very simple. They live in the gym, they go, they run, they eat, and they train, and that's it. And, and then like for fun, maybe at night they go to the night market or they just spend time around each other. And it really just gave me a different perspective of fighting in general, even going to stadium fights and seeing that these guys were pretty peaceful. Like they're warming up in the same locker rooms. They're showing each other respect in the back and even after. So I got to see a different side of fighting that I identified with. So when I got to see the martial art that I loved performed at its like purest, I think it did a lot for me internally.
Shavkat Rakhmonov is not concerned about Conor McGregor potentially skipping the line for a welterweight title shot. Speaking to MMAfighting.com, Shavkat said, "To be honest, I don't even think about when's Conor going to fight and when he's going to be ready. I don't think about all that. He's been getting ready to fight for a long time, but he wasn't able to do that yet. So in my head, I don't really think about him maybe winning this one fight in 3 years. Is that going to do something? I understand he's a big star, but in my head, I don't see it being possible. I believe the UFC is the best and most fair organization, so I believe they're going to do everything right. So yeah, who don't want to fight Conor right now? But to be honest, I don't even think about it for me. The most important thing is to win the belt, and that's my focus." Over the weekend, Misfits boxer Anthony Taylor defeated Gabriel Silva via TKO, Anderson Silva's son. Afterwards, Anthony called out Darren Till for a boxing match, and Darren responded with this video.
Right, this is a message to Anthony Taylor. I don't usually do this, but I've seen you call me out the weekend. Well done on your victory. I will fight you anywhere right now, whatever event Misfits want to put on. If you want to do it in my city and you want to try and knock me out in Liverpool, then we will do it here at any weight, whatever date. Because you say, oh, and I think everyone else on it is. I will not even train for someone like you, and I will knock you flat out, okay?
MMA Roasted heckles Randy Couture and Ryan Bader while they golf.
For the natural. He's a natural, and his wife's breasts aren't. Okay? Just so you know, Randy Couture is here. He's hoping he was in a horror film. It was called His Fourth Marriage. But Randy Couture is the man. He's the star of The Expendables, and now he's in The Pensables. He's an old man right here. Oh, Randy. All right, we got to stick to fighting. Stick to fighting.
Yeah, you're helping my cause there.
Up here, Ryan Bader. Ryan Bader never lets me down except when he fights. Ryan Bader is awesome. He is the Bellator heavyweight champion, which almost makes up for his loss to Tito Ortiz. Ryan Bader, he had a college record of 88-34, which is the same ages as Hendo and his wife. You got this, Ryan Bader. Okay, you got it. Okay, he did DMT last night. He was messed up. He was a college All-American. I'm happy that you finally woke up from your last fight. Okay, just so you know, Ryan Bader is a bad. He just keeps going. Doesn't matter how many times he loses. Watching Ryan Bader fight is like banging Pamela Anderson. It was great 25 years ago. Okay, now it's just depressing. It's like watching Britney Spears now. At one point you were like, "This is awesome," and now you're like, "What the happened?"
Oh, that's actually good. Let's go. Let's go. Good
Nice
heckles.
shot, Ryan Bader. Nice
Good
shot.
heckles.
It's like 1, 2, 3.
Robert Whittaker gives his thoughts on the current landscape of the middleweight division. Rob thinks it's a great time to be a middleweight. However, he says he barely knows anybody in the top 10.
It's a great time to be a middleweight. There's so much movement. There's a lot of people out there. But I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be honest with you, Johnny. All right? I barely know who's in the top 10. I really do. My eyes are on Chimaev, who I don't even know what his rank is. So my eyes and focus is solely on him, and then on Dricus. That's just how my brain operates. Like, they're the targets. Everything else doesn't matter until you're emailed the contract, and you see the name in bold across from yours, right? So it's fun. It's a fun time to be a middleweight. But then it's always been fun. It doesn't. It just gets funny when there's like stalemates and stallings, and time offs and whatnot. But it's a good time to be a middleweight. There's a lot of. Looks like we're getting a new wave, like a new era of middleweights, and I'm interested to see how they mix with the old guard.
Kayla Harrison had words for Amanda Nunes. The two both trained at American Top Team. However, recently Amanda left. Kayla claims that Amanda has been talking about the team now. Speaking to Grind City Media, Kayla said, "I didn't call Amanda out because Amanda's retired, you know? I didn't want to be that girl that's like calling out old people, retired people, like people who are fat and happy sitting on the couch. I'm happy for her. I think she also struggles to not be in the limelight still. So I think when I had my moment, maybe she needed to come in, which is fine, and I have no beef with Amanda. Listen, the only problem I have with Amanda is that she talks about the greatest team in the world. Personally, I think she's great, but don't talk about my team. I would love for her to come back." That is literally the dream scenario for Kayla Harrison in her career. When she retired, I was like, what are you doing? Not yet, wait. I'm glad she made the video, but now she's going to be hearing from me. I have a couple of steps to take, and then she's going to be hearing from me. Belal Muhammad's coach Lewis Taylor thinks that Shavkat will have to finish Belal in order to beat him. Speaking to Sportskeeda, he went on to say gas tank is going to be a factor, and I think we beat him 3-2 or 4-1. I look at people like Shavkat. Shavkat's a finisher and he's good at it. But if you don't put Belal out of there, he's going to keep coming. I mean, I would prefer no knees Usman, but no. Both those guys are well deserving and well respected. Again, if you go for the numbers game, it's Usman. If you go for the legacy game, taking someone's O, it would be Shavkat. If you watch Belal's career, the year whatever it was spat that we had to wait for the Gilbert Burns fight until the Leon fight, that was literally the longest layoff Belal has ever had. It made me nervous stepping up from such a long layoff into such a high caliber bout. I think we should fight in November, December. That would be great. After defeating Jared Cannonier, Caio Borralho called out Dricus du Plessis. Caio says that after the fight he had a conversation with Hunter Campbell, and Hunter said he would find a quote-unquote fun fight for him next, and if he wins that he'll fight for the belt. Caio is hoping he fights Israel Adesanya. He went on to say, "This is the third time I call him out. Last time I called him out, he went on Twitter and said something like, 'with 2 more and we'll talk.' I think this is my 3rd or 4th win since then. He has already beaten Strickland, Israel Adesanya, and Robert Whittaker, and the other guys ranked ahead of me have fights booked now. I knew maybe I wouldn't go straight for Dricus, but it would make more noise, and I'm sure that if Strickland gets hurt, my name will be in the conversation for a short notice after this call out. He has already beaten the others. If Robert Whittaker beats Khamzat Chimaev, the UFC will probably call me instead of him. Hunter Campbell was super happy with my performance. He said in the top 5 of this sport, you can't be a guy that quits, that throws caution to the wind and fights reckless. And you showed that today. You showed quality and heart, and we'll see what we have for you. I don't know if it's going to be Dricus, but I'll find a fun fight for you, and then you'll go for the belt. I'm anxious to see which fun fight is that. I hope it's Adesanya, respectfully. I'm planting that seed little by little. There's also Yuri Prochazka cutting down to middleweight, but I don't know if it interests me as much as a fight with Adesanya, for example. For now, all I want is to rest and take some time off. I fought 3 months ago and again now, so my body needs a quick break, but I'm anxious to see what the UFC has in mind. I know it's a good fight style-wise for me. Like it or not, I have wrestling and jiu-jitsu, and we know Adesanya's weaknesses. He was dominant champion for so long, and he has a huge fan base. He's gigantic in the sport, one of the biggest stars in the UFC, so imagine fighting this guy. And I'm truly confident that I can win. I could take him to deep waters, especially now that he's not performing the way he used to when he was in his prime. I think this fight makes total sense, and I'd be very confident going into it. So there's a ton of confusion right now regarding the co-main event of UFC 308. As you guys know, it was originally supposed to be Robert Whittaker versus Khamzat Chimaev. However, last night the UFC posted this to X. It says Drago has been on a tear since this moment. Alexander Volkov is taking on Ciryl Gane in the UFC 308 co-main event. The UFC later deleted this, and then posted this. It says the matchup we've all been waiting for. How excited are you for the UFC 308 co-main event? With photos of Khamzat and Rob. Now today, if you go to the UFC official website, it appears that Rob versus Khamzat has been moved down from the co-main event. However, there has not been any official announcement from the UFC. At this current moment, we're unsure what the co-main event is for UFC 308. Many fans are assuming the fight had to be moved down due to Khamzat not wanting to fight 5 rounds. Make sure you guys are subscribed to Full Mount MMA. We'll be sure to keep you updated on this story. The MMA community was quite surprised last night after Dana White named Donald Trump and not John Jones as his #1 pound for pound.
Where does he rank at 77?
Number one. Number one. You take any of the greatest fighters of all time, Trump is #1. The most resilient human being that I have ever met in my life.
And that's going to wrap it up for the news. Thanks for watching. For daily MMA news and content, subscribe to Full Mount MMA and click the bell icon to be notified when we post videos. Here are the 3 top comments from last video. The first one's from Big Dre from the Bay. It says, y'all notice how short-lived those allegations against Alex Bejeda were? That girl couldn't even get 15 minutes of fame for that BS. The second one's from Marble Jar. It says, Aljo pointing out Sean won a split decision against Piotr Jan is peak irony. And the final one's from MMA for Life. It says, if Full Mount MMA entered a room with all the other MMA news channels, they would be the only ones leaving that room.
Is he f***ing awesome?
Those were the 3 top comments from last video. If you want to be featured in the next one, all you have to do is comment down below. And if you missed yesterday's news, click the video on screen right now to get caught up.